Hi crafty friends, Shana from ShanoukiArt. I'm excited to bring you another episode of me decorating my Junky junk journal. I have a really big bag full of all this junky junk to use in my journal, and I've set myself a challenge that I'm not going to go through and pick things that I like to use. I just stick my hand in and pull out a whole bunch of goodies and then work with those and see what I can do with them in my journal. I'm very happy I got this envelope in today's bunch of junky junk. This really is junk mail. It was an advertisement for a handyman, I think. There were magnets inside for his business. And I'm going to stick that down. I'm just sticking down the flap of the envelope so I can still flap it open and use it as a pocket. This beautiful card is actually from the inside of a box. It's from the brand Craspire, and there were some journaling cards in it. I had bought a few different themes, and the inside of each box has got different colors. You can see this one that I'm working on now and the other red that I pulled into the screen earlier. A great way to use them up. I'm using double-sided tape to stick this down. It is quite thick cardboard and I want it to hold well. I don't think a glue stick would work great, and I didn't want to use a wet glue. I have this piece of vintage colored paper where I've punched out some circles. I'm just going to place it on the right for some additional interest. I'm not spending too much time thinking about what I'm putting where. I'm really just sticking it down and see where the page takes me. Using now that red inner card, I'm going to punch a smaller circle, which I will then place inside my larger circle, and I'm going to use the spotty paper which is left over from another project for the bottom one. Since this is like an airmail envelope, I'm going to also add a stamp. It's got the beautiful blue colors which match this overall theme. And then I'm also going to add that airmail turquoise sticker. There's a little bit of turquoise in the spotty paper in the bottom right, so that sort of complements the sticker and creates cohesion. I want this to look more like an airmail envelope, so I have a postal stamp. I'm going to add that with some black ink. And I didn't press it quite hard enough, so some of it is missing. I do try go over it again. It's not great, but I've seen some envelopes look like that, so it'll do. I want to add this clothing tag here just to fill the space. I'm tearing off the bottom to give it that used or junk look. And although I have a white one that's already like full white, I want to peel the label or the price tag off this one because I wanted to have that peeled look. I want that roughness and the used look to the tag. So I'm just going to quickly peel that off and then I'm going to stick that down. Before I stick it down though, I am going to write on it. I want this journal to be chock-a-block full of elements and writing. I basically fill every space, whether it be with my writing or an element. For this one, for me, I think more is more. I want to add some definition to the tag before I stick it down. I'm using a black watercolor pencil. I'm just dipping the point in the water and then going around the edge. I have a gift bag that has this ribbon and the color is perfect. It's a turquoisey color which matches the airmail sticker that I've put and the little spots in the spotty paper. I'm going to add that at the top of my tag. I'm just going to staple that in place. I'm going to attach that to the page with my double-sided tape. For some contrast, I'm going to add some black around my circles. I'm using my black fine liner pen for this. I'm just going freehand around the circles, and then I'm also going to do it around the airmail sticker and all the way around the envelope by the red and blue line. I'm going to use the left-hand side, which is a smaller page, to write onto. The paper that I've used from the previous video that has sort of overlapped onto this side is very glossy and I wasn't able to write on it with my pen. So I'm just going to quickly put a couple of layers of gesso to make it easier to write on. I'm letting the gesso not have a definite end. I'm blending it softer into the rest of the page, creating a bit of a blendy effect. You can use as much or as little as you want. I'm also going to add sort of like a heading for this page. I'm using the same paper that I used on the base of the envelope for that continuity that I talk about, and this will go at the top of the writing section. Creating some definition around the edge with that watercolor pencil again. And then it's time to stick that heading down again with double-sided tape. I want to create a sort of journaling card that's going to go inside the envelope. I'm going to use again that inside of the journal card pack. It is beautiful bright red, which goes with today's overall theme. I'm going to leave the red as is, but I want to cover the other side to make it a little bit more suited to the theme. I'm going to stick down an old book page. I'm just tearing it down to size using my ruler. I'm going to attach the book page to this using some Mod Podge. I'm also going to add Mod Podge over the book page once I've stuck it down. This is because I'm now going to add some mixed media, including some wet inks. So I want to waterproof this page so it doesn't tear and become soggy. I'm also going to add a little bit of my white gesso, not over the entire book page, just over certain areas, just to lighten them and create tone in the background. I'm now going to add some texture paste using a stencil, a palette knife and the texture paste. I'm going to apply some, not over the entire surface, just here and there. I'm going to dry this really well and then I'm going to add some color. I'm going to use my Tim Holtz Distress ink. It comes in a spray bottle. It's the spray version, but I'm not going to spray it. I'm going to open the bottle and put a few droplets onto my work surface, and then I'm going to spray with water. I'm going to move the card around and also use a wet paintbrush to try help move that color over the texture paste. You can see how it's going in between and creating lights and darks and really interesting patterns. I decided to make the red side a little bit more suitable for writing. I'm going to stick a plain piece of lined paper there. It's from a spiral book and I'm leaving little spiral bits on there. I love the texture it creates. I'm going to stick this down with just a glue stick. The paper is quite thin and doesn't need much more than a glue stick. Back to the other side with the texture paste, I'm going to add a little bit of an embellishment stack to make it a bit more fun. I'm gathering a few of the little bits. Most of these have been repeated in the journal, that word continuity again, and I'm going to just place them overlapping with torn edges, creating a little point of interest. I'm adding a piece of white vellum over that darker blue area of my background. I'm crumpling it up first to create some texture to it. You can still see the blue of the background, but it really softens the overall look. I'm also going to add a piece of black thread. I always love the interest that this creates. I'm happy with that, so I'm going to stick everything down. I'm using double-sided tape for my vellum. I find if I use a wet glue, the vellum tends to curl. For me, the double-sided tape works best for vellum. I'm now going to attach my little pieces of color. For this top element, I'm using a liquid craft glue. This is because I have the thread underneath, and I find if I use rather a wet glue, it tends to stick and hold the thread better in place. That piece of the tag that I tore off on the front page, I'm using as a tab on this page. And I stapled it in place. I'm now going to add a little bit of black splatter for that contrast. Me and my black fine liner pen, I'm going around the red sticker. I just love what this adds to the piece. I'm also going to go all the way around the entire journal card. And some writing on the back. And now my little journal card is going to go into the envelope. The little tab I created is a little too long, so I can't close the envelope over. I'm just going to trim that down. And now for that inside page, I decided to do a bit of a masterboard type of look using neutral colors and some black. I've stuck down all my pieces. I'm adding a small piece of black on the bottom left for balance. I'm adding 2 pieces of masking tape across the pages. I'm going to use these to write on. The masking tape is great to write on, and it creates an even writing surface. I used a fine liner for this writing, and it's a little too fine. It's not easy to read. I'm going to use a thicker marker to go over it. And now you'll probably notice that I made a spelling mistake, which I did notice near the end, and thankfully I was able to fix it pretty easily. And this back bit of the envelope I'm going to fill also with writing. I actually love writing in cursive quite a bit, so I'm quite enjoying filling up this journal. And here is where I correct my spelling mistake. I make the O into an A. Thankfully, it was an easy fix. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my Junky Junk Journal creation today. I really hope you enjoyed it and were inspired to create your own. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the little bell so you're notified every time I upload new content. Thanks again for watching. Happy creating, and I will see you again soon. Bye.